My sister sabotaged my wedding dress the night before my ceremony, so I exposed her secret affair to her fiancé in front of 200 guests. I never thought my own sister would try to destroy the most important day of my life, but here we are. What started as typical sibling rivalry turned into the most devastating betrayal I could imagine, followed by the most satisfying revenge I've ever executed. This is the story of how my sister Hannah tried to ruin my wedding and how I ended up ruining hers instead. Let me start from the beginning because this mess has been brewing for years. I'm Emma, 26, and my sister Hannah is 28. We've always had what you'd call a complicated relationship. Growing up, Hannah was the golden child. Straight A's, homecoming queen, full scholarship to college. I was the artsy one who took longer to find her path. Our parents never played favorites outright, but let's just say Hannah's achievements always seemed to get a little more celebration. Fast forward to 2 years ago, when I met David. David is everything I ever wanted in a partner. Kind, funny, successful as a software engineer, and completely devoted to me. When we got engaged last Christmas, I was over the moon. Hannah seemed happy for me, or so I thought. She immediately volunteered to be my maid of honor, helped me plan everything, and even offered to let me use her friend's dress shop for a discount. The first red flag should have been when Hannah kept suggesting I choose a different wedding date. She claimed it was because June was too cliché, and that a fall wedding would be more elegant. What I didn't know then was that she'd been planning to propose to her boyfriend Marcus around the same time, and she wanted the spotlight to herself. See, Hannah and Marcus have been together for 4 years, but he's never been the marriage type. She's been dropping hints for ages, buying bride magazines, and even picked out her dream ring. When I announced my engagement, she went into overdrive, trying to pressure Marcus into proposing. According to what I learned later, she told him that if he didn't propose by my wedding, she was done. The second red flag was her behavior during the dress shopping. Hannah insisted on coming to every appointment, and she always had something negative to say. The first dress was too plain. The second was trying too hard. The third made me look washed out. After the fifth shop, I was starting to doubt myself. But then I found it. A stunning A-line gown with delicate lace sleeves and a chapel train. It was perfect, and even Hannah couldn't find fault with it. Or so I thought. The final fitting was 3 days before the wedding. Everything was perfect. The dress fit like a glove, the alterations were flawless, and I finally felt like the bride I'd always dreamed of being. Hannah was there, of course, taking pictures and gushing about how beautiful I looked. She even teared up a little, saying she was so proud to be my sister. That night, I stayed at our parents' house, since David and I were doing the whole don't see each other before the wedding tradition. Hannah stayed too, claiming she wanted to help me with last-minute preparations. We had such a nice evening, doing face masks, painting our nails, and talking about the ceremony. For the first time in months, I felt like we were real sisters again. I should have known it was too good to be true. The next morning, the day before my wedding, I woke up excited and nervous. Hannah was already gone, said she had errands to run. I spent the day at the spa with my bridesmaids, getting massages and facials. When I got back to my parents' house around 6 p.m., Hannah was in the kitchen making dinner, acting completely normal. That evening, we had the rehearsal and rehearsal dinner. Everything went perfectly. Hannah gave a beautiful speech about how much she loved me and how happy she was that I'd found David. She talked about our childhood, our bond as sisters, and how excited she was to officially welcome David to the family. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. Even I was crying, feeling so grateful to have such a wonderful sister. The nightmare began the next morning at 8 a.m. I was supposed to start getting ready at 9, so I went to get my dress from the garment bag in the guest room closet. The moment I unzipped the bag, my heart stopped. The dress was completely destroyed. Someone had taken scissors or a knife to it, the bodice was slashed, the skirt had huge tears, and the beautiful lace sleeves were shredded beyond repair. I screamed. I'm not proud of it, but I literally screamed at the top of my lungs. Within seconds, my mom, dad, and Hannah were running into the room. When they saw the dress, my mom started crying, my dad started swearing, and Hannah looked shocked, but something about her expression seemed off. "Oh my God, Emma!" she gasped, putting her hand over her mouth. "Who would do this? Did someone break in?" But as I looked at her face more carefully, I noticed something. Her shock seemed performative, like she was acting surprised, rather than actually being surprised. And there was something else, the tiniest hint of satisfaction in her eyes before she caught herself. That's when I knew. My sister, my maid of honor, my supposed best friend, had destroyed my wedding dress the night before my wedding. The next few hours were pure chaos. My mom was calling dress shops, my dad was checking security cameras, we don't have any, and my bridesmaids were frantically searching for any dress that might work. Hannah played her part perfectly, comforting me and making phone calls, acting like the devoted sister trying to save the day. But I was watching her, and the more I watched, the more certain I became. She knew exactly which shops to call. She had very specific suggestions about what might work. And most telling of all, she kept checking her phone and smiling at the messages she was receiving. Around noon, when it became clear that we weren't going to find a replacement dress in time, I made an excuse about needing air and went for a walk. But instead of walking around the block, I went straight to Hannah's apartment. I still had the spare key she'd given me months ago. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I knew I'd find something. And I did. In her bedroom trash can, I found pieces of lace that matched my dress. Small pieces, but definitely from my gown. She'd been sloppy in her cleanup. But that wasn't the most shocking discovery. On her nightstand, I found something that changed everything. It was a printed email confirmation for a wedding dress rental, dated 2 weeks ago. Hannah had rented a backup dress in my size. She'd planned this. But wait, it gets worse. As I was taking pictures of everything with my phone, I heard voices outside. Hannah was coming back to her apartment, and she wasn't alone. I quickly hid in her walk-in closet, pulling the door almost closed but leaving it open just enough to see and hear. Hannah walked in with Marcus, and they were arguing. "I can't believe you actually did it," Marcus was saying. "This is insane, Hannah. It's your sister's wedding day." "It's not that bad," Hannah replied, but she sounded defensive. The dress was already kind of ugly anyway. I'm doing her a favor. "A favor? You destroyed her wedding dress." "She'll figure something out. She always does. And now everyone will be talking about the drama instead of how perfect everything is. She's always been the princess, Marcus. Just once I wanted things to not go exactly her way." I was recording everything on my phone, my hands shaking with rage and disbelief. "Besides," Hannah continued, "this might actually work out better for us. When people hear about the dress disaster, they'll be so focused on that drama that our announcement will be even more special." "What announcement?" Marcus asked. Hannah got down on one knee right there in her bedroom, pulled out a ring box, and proposed to Marcus herself. "I'm tired of waiting for you to get the courage," she said. "Hannah Marie Thompson, will you marry me? I mean, Marcus James Rodriguez, will you marry me?" She was literally practicing proposing to herself in her mirror. I watched her do it 3 times, getting the wording right, working on her facial expressions. She was planning to propose to Marcus at my wedding reception. My sister had destroyed my dress so that she could steal my wedding day and propose to her boyfriend during my party. I'd heard enough. I snuck out of the apartment and drove back to my parents' house, my mind racing. I had evidence of what she'd done, but I needed to be smart about this. I couldn't just accuse her without proof, and I needed to make sure that her plan backfired spectacularly. When I got back, the chaos was even worse. My mom had found a simple white dress at David's cousin's boutique, but it wasn't even close to what I'd wanted. Everyone was trying to be positive, saying it would be beautiful, but I could see the pity in their eyes. Hannah was in full supportive sister mode, helping me get ready, doing my hair, telling me how beautiful I looked. The whole time I was thinking about what I'd just witnessed. How could she comfort me while knowing she was the one who'd caused this pain? "Don't worry, Em," she said as she curled my hair. "This dress is actually really pretty. And you know what? Sometimes the best weddings are the ones where things don't go exactly as planned. It makes for better stories." I wanted to scream at her right then, but I held it together. I had a plan forming in my mind, and I needed to execute it perfectly. The ceremony itself was beautiful, despite everything. David was so understanding about the dress situation, and he told me I looked absolutely stunning, no matter what I was wearing. His love and support just made Hannah's betrayal sting even more. This man loved me unconditionally, while my own sister had tried to sabotage our special day. During the reception, Hannah was in her element. She was charming all the guests, dancing with everyone, and playing the role of the perfect maid of honor. She even gave another beautiful speech during dinner, talking about our bond and how much this day meant to our family. I watched her performance with fascination and disgust. She was so good at playing the loving sister that I almost doubted what I'd seen with my own eyes. Almost. Around 9 p.m., during the dancing portion of the evening, Hannah started making her move. I watched her pull Marcus aside and whisper something in his ear. He looked confused and shook his head, but she was persistent. She was setting up for her grand proposal moment. That's when I decided it was time. I asked the DJ to pause the music and handed me the microphone. The room quieted down as I stood up on the small stage. "Hi, everyone," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I know this is unusual, but I have something important to share with all of you tonight." I could see Hannah in the crowd, looking confused, but not worried. She probably thought I was going to give another thank you speech or announce something cute about David and me. "As many of you know, we had a bit of drama this morning with my wedding dress," I continued. "Someone destroyed it in the night, and we've all been wondering who could have done such a horrible thing." Now Hannah looked worried. I could see her face pale even from across the room. "Well, I found out who did it." The room was completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. "It was my maid of honor, my sister, Hannah." Gasps erupted throughout the room. Hannah's face went white, and Marcus stepped away from her instinctively. "I have video evidence of her admitting to it," I said, holding up my phone. "But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is why she did it." I could see Hannah frantically shaking her head, trying to mouth "no" at me, but I was done protecting her. "She destroyed my dress because she was planning to propose to Marcus tonight, at my wedding reception, and she wanted to make sure that people were already talking about drama so that her proposal would seem like the happy ending to a difficult day." More gasps. Marcus was staring at Hannah in horror and disbelief. "Hannah has been planning this for weeks. She rented a backup dress just in case someone figured out what she'd done. She was going to let me walk down the aisle in a ruined gown or scramble to find something else, all so she could have her perfect proposal moment at my expense." I pressed play on the recording I'd made in her apartment. Hannah's voice filled the room, crystal clear. "She's always been the princess, Marcus. Just once I wanted things to not go exactly her way." The room erupted. People were shouting, some were crying, and Hannah was standing in the middle of it all looking like she wanted to disappear into the floor. Marcus was backing away from her, his face a mask of disgust and betrayal. "Hannah," I said, looking directly at her, "did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? Did you really think you could destroy my wedding dress, comfort me while I cried about it, and then propose to your boyfriend at my reception like some kind of fairy tale ending?" She tried to speak, but no words came out. She just stood there, opening and closing her mouth like a fish out of water. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced to the room, "I present to you my sister Hannah, who loves me so much that she was willing to sabotage my wedding day for her own benefit." That's when Hannah finally found her voice. "Emma, please," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Let me explain. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I've been waiting for Marcus to propose for so long, and when you got engaged, I felt so left behind. I wasn't thinking clearly." "You weren't thinking clearly," I repeated. "You planned this, Hannah. You rented a backup dress. You practiced your proposal speech in the mirror. You told Marcus that destroying my dress was doing me a favor because it was ugly anyway." Marcus was staring at Hannah like he'd never seen her before. "Is that true?" he asked quietly. "Did you really say my sister's dress was ugly? Marcus, did you really destroy her wedding dress so you could propose to me tonight?" Hannah looked around the room desperately, but there was nowhere to hide. Every single person at my wedding was staring at her with varying degrees of shock, disgust, and disappointment. "Answer him," I said into the microphone. "Yes," she whispered, so quietly that I almost didn't hear her. "I'm sorry, what was that?" I asked. "I don't think everyone heard you." "Yes!" she shouted, her voice breaking. "Yes, I destroyed your dress. Yes, I was going to propose to Marcus tonight. Yes, I planned it all. Are you happy now?" The room was completely silent again. "Actually," I said, "I'm pretty happy. Because now everyone knows exactly who you really are." Marcus pulled off the promise ring Hannah had given him 2 years ago and threw it at her feet. "We're done," he said. Don't ever contact me again. You're sick, Hannah. You need help. He walked out of the reception hall, leaving Hannah standing alone in front of 200 people who had just watched her world implode. Hannah looked at me one more time, her face streaked with tears and mascara. I hate you, she said. No, I replied, still holding the microphone. You hate yourself, and now everyone else knows why. She ran out of the hall, and honestly, that was the last time I saw her that night. The reception continued, but obviously the mood was different. People were buzzing about what had just happened, and while some thought I was too harsh, most were on my side. They couldn't believe that someone would sabotage her own sister's wedding day. David was incredible through all of it. He supported me completely and told me he was proud of me for standing up to Hannah's toxic behavior. His family was shocked, but rallied around us. And my parents. Well, that's a complicated story for another day. The aftermath was brutal for Hannah. Within a week, the story had spread through our entire extended family and friend group. Marcus told everyone exactly what kind of person she really was, and he started dating someone new within a month. Hannah had to move back in with our parents because she couldn't afford her apartment without Marcus's help. She tried to apologize several times, sending long text messages and emails explaining her behavior, but I wasn't interested. You don't destroy your sister's wedding dress and then get forgiven with a simple, I'm sorry. Some lines, once crossed, can never be uncrossed. 6 months later, Hannah moved to another state for a fresh start. She couldn't handle everyone knowing what she'd done. Last I heard, she was in therapy and working at some corporate job, trying to rebuild her life. Do I feel bad about exposing her like that? Sometimes. She is my sister, and part of me will always love her. But she made her choices, and I made mine. She chose to betray me on the most important day of my life, and I chose not to let her get away with it. The truth is, Hannah had been jealous and resentful for years, and my wedding was just the final straw. She couldn't stand that things were going well for me while she was struggling to get Marcus to commit. Instead of dealing with her own relationship issues, she decided to sabotage mine. Some people think I went too far by humiliating her in front of everyone. But you know what? She humiliated herself. I just made sure people knew the truth about what she'd done. She was planning to let me find my destroyed dress, watch me panic and cry, and then swoop in like a hero with her proposal to save the day. The irony is that if she'd just been honest with me about her feelings, I would have helped her. If she'd told me she was struggling with Marcus not proposing, I would have talked to him or helped her plan something special. We could have worked together instead of her working against me. But she chose destruction instead of communication. She chose jealousy instead of love. And she chose to betray the person who should have been able to trust her most in the world. David and I are coming up on our 1-year anniversary now, and we're happier than ever. We're actually planning to renew our vows on our 5-year anniversary, and this time I'll get to wear the dress I actually want. We've built a beautiful life together, surrounded by people who genuinely love and support us. Hannah sends a Christmas card every year, but we don't talk. My parents keep pushing for reconciliation, saying that family is family and we should forgive and forget. But some things can't be forgotten. Every time I think about my wedding day, I remember finding my destroyed dress. I remember the look on her face when she pretended to be shocked. I remember her voice on that recording, talking about how I'd always been the princess. Maybe someday we'll reconcile. Maybe someday I'll be able to forgive her completely. But that day isn't today, and it might not be anytime soon. The lesson I learned from all this is that you can't trust someone just because they're family. Blood doesn't automatically make someone loyal, and being related doesn't mean they have your best interests at heart. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones most capable of hurting you, because they know exactly where to strike. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought I was. I didn't crumble when my dress was destroyed. I didn't let Hannah's betrayal ruin my entire wedding day. And when the time came to choose between protecting her feelings and protecting myself, I chose myself. And you know what? I'd make the same choice again. So that's my story. My sister tried to sabotage my wedding day, and I made sure everyone knew exactly what kind of person she really was. Some might call it revenge, but I call it justice. She got exactly what she deserved, and I got exactly what I needed. The truth out in the open, and a wedding day that, drama and all, was absolutely perfect in its own way. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. Sometimes it's just making sure people see someone for who they really are.